Probably, yeah. And
Who knows?
we'll find, yeah, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
Good evening, folks. Welcome to FMA Discussion. This is episode 164, and tonight I'm so excited. He came highly recommended and touted for, screamed for, yada yada. Kuya Doug Marcaida. I want to thank you. I really appreciate you coming on. I know you're extremely busy with everything going on, so I appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, hello to everybody who are joining us, and thank you for having me. Thank you very
Sure.
much for this opportunity to share our joint passion of Filipino martial arts.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, yeah, and folks, if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button, and we're gonna jump into it. We got a bunch of content, a bunch of questions came in, a bunch of stuff to cover. His journey, Forge of Fire, Fox Knives, his work with the Karambit, and so on and so forth. Um, so I guess let's just jump in. I mean, like all of us, I'm sure you started pretty young, but I guess my first question would be is, far as with specific context to FMA, well, when was your first experience? Who, when, and where?
Well, actually, I was born and raised in the Philippines. So being raised in the Philippines, I started, dabbling in martial arts when I was young. But I was guilty of colonial mentality, meaning I was raised to think that everything is better than our own.
Oh,
That's colonialism for you. So
mm,
while I was growing up in the Philippines, I dabbled in judo, a little bit of karate, a little bit of taekwondo, kickboxing. That's the thing that I loved. And when I looked at Filipino martial arts, I'm like, no way, I'm not going to study that. Number one, it was considered an art for only dangerous people or the criminals' art. Why? You see them with knives, you see them with sticks. And
mm,
then when you start watching your own, you start to think, why would I even study that art? It's for the masses. It's just uncool to do that. Little did I know later on I'd bump back into it. And where did I find it? Later on, I found it while I was in the US Air Force.
mm.
But it was not introduced to me like I thought it was. Growing up in the Philippines, I saw it as arnis and eskrima, and it was an art form that I just didn't catch my eye. I was not interested in it. I'm like, I forget, I'm going to study that. Now, when I was in the U.S. Air Force, I met up with a guy, and we had our own little our little MMA origins. This was way back before MMA started, actually, but our fight group, and we were sparring, and this guy was just really just demolishing my stuff. I thought I knew kickboxing. And at the time, Steven Seagal was popular. So,
Mm.
above the law. So I'm like, wow, is that Aikido Jiu-Jitsu or Aikido? Your hands are so fast. And the guy goes, no, it's Kali. Ooh, Kali, how exotic. I'm thinking, because this guy was from California. What's Kali? Oh, it's a Filipino martial art. And I'm like, Filipino martial art? I'm Filipino. I never heard of Kali. And the guy goes, seriously? And I'm like, well, look up Dan Inosanto, because he was later on. I found that he's connected to the IMB, which is the Bustillo
Yeah,
part of Inosanto,
yeah.
the academy he called it. So once I found out it was Filipino martial arts, and it was not introduced to me as a weapons art, it was his empty hands that got me. Then he brought out the balisong and the knife. I'm like, whoa, I'm blown away because it
Yeah.
was different. It was presented differently. So once I saw the videos of Guru Dan, I was just addicted immediately. I was just hooked, and I wanted to train with him, but I was so uncoordinated. I was so stiff and everything else. He did not have the patience to teach me. So I had to learn on my own until I found a school in El Paso, I was in New Mexico, that had pretty much started Kali. When I saw a demo, I'm like, oh, cool. Okay, here I'm going to go. It was a Kamjuka school with Grandmaster Ruby. And then she brought in Edgar Solita from
Mm.
Lameco. And that was my first, and that totally just blew my mind. Just watching what he was able to do.
PJ
I
Edgar.
pursued what he was when they brought him for seminars, and I asked about his lineage, and he pointed me out to his instructors. And he was only there for seminars, but once he left, and eventually I got stationed somewhere else in Mississippi, I was able to see another Guru Dance seminar. I attended over there, and that's where I met my instructor, who was my first true Filipino martial art instructor, where I truly studied the art very in depthly with him, which was Omar Hakim from Pakiti Tertia. And that just, he was a first generation student to the Grandmaster. And just our training methods were amazing. I mean, our classes were like 6 hours long. That's dedication. I go over there in the evenings. We would be done till midnight.
When you
That's
say
how old school we were.
when you say six
You know?
hours long, was this two on Ruby or?
No, no, no. This was already when I was already in New Orleans
Oh,
studying under Omar Hakim,
gotcha.
because that's how long his classes were with Grandmaster Gahe, with Grand Tuhon. That's how long, because he chose videos. Look how long we, when he was there. So he mimicked our training. Our training was in the backyard, and a lot of calisthenics for the first 3 hours, a lot of footwork, and all these things. And then later on, we'd learn the exercises because Omar was a business math kind of guy, and the way he approached the martial art was think about what you're doing. It was very exotic, a lot of metaphors, a lot of ideas that were really made you think outside of the box. That's what I got from him. It
Okay.
wasn't technical. Yeah, so many times I'd ask for techniques. Show me techniques and stuff like that. Show me the empty hands because he was also a Silat practitioner. Show me all these things. He wouldn't do it. He would give us a little taste, but then let's go back to the weapons and everything else. So that frustrated me because I'm like, I wanted empty hands. Here I am learning weapons, but I trusted what I saw. I loved what I was learning with weapons. But it wasn't until later on that he left after being with him for a year and a half. I had then also learned to host Indonesian Air Force because in my base we had the Indonesian Air Force visit and find some Silat practitioners, and I would take them around and then I'd befriend them, and in exchange they'd be teaching me Silat.
Oh,
So
okay.
I love that. I was learning Merpati Puti and some different kinds of Silat from instructors. And eventually, what had happened was on our very last day, we had a party, and I met up with it was a Filipino party, so I brought them. We were all eating, and then one of the guys asked, "Hey, so what's Kali like? What if I attacked you this way without a weapon?" And I just started doing stuff, just pouring out of me. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, my empty hands." And even the Indonesians were like, "Where the hell did you learn all that? We're teaching you this stuff, and you knew this?" Well, I go, "Yeah, it's from the weapons and everything else." So as it just poured out of me, I was like shocked. And after that session, I could immediately call my teacher. Omar goes, "Oh my God, oh my God, all these empty hands are coming out of me. I thought I knew the weapons and everything, it's just pouring out." He goes, "Yeah, because pretty much the weapons, what wields the weapons? Your hands. It's so much easier. It's like training." And he would say, it's like training with a parachute for track and field athletes, right? They're running around the track, they get a parachute attached, the resistance is there. But the minute you let go of that
Oh, yeah.
parachute, you're 10 times faster. He goes, that's what weapons trainings do for you. Doesn't mean we don't have empty hands. It just makes more sense to pick up something else that's an inanimate object that won't hurt you. Because he would say this, the hands are for loving. It's for your family. The weapon is what does the damage. You don't touch anything. Remember that, and that's a big thing with the Philippines. I go, that's right. My grandparents would pick up their flip flops, their slippers, and they'll spank you with it. It's not my hands that's spanking you; it's a flip flop. Or get me in their stick over there. I'll whack you with it to discipline you. The hands are for loving. That inanimate object doesn't make a physical connection with you. So,
Jeez, I like that analogy. Yeah, the
yeah,
hands are for loving.
that's right.
We got a bunch of people here saying hello. Oh my God,
Hello, everyone.
this wall blowing up. So, Kuya, if you wanted to share the link, you're going to have to. Here's how we're going to have to do it. Do you have another device where you?
Yeah, I got my phone here.
Okay. So if you go to my Facebook wall,
Facebook wall.
apparently the share option will enable you to, share it wherever you would like. And they can see it in conjunction with us doing it live.
All right, let me
that's what I'm being
find it.
All right, we got Brian. Hey, we got James Irwin from Connecticut. Trish, hey Trish. We got Gene, Jeremy, Tom Pena.
Oh, there it is. I see it.
Eric O'Brien, Sachi. Hey, getting down to New Jersey one of these days. We got Paul. Hey, Maestro Chad, Scott, Emmett, Paul, Julius, Anna. Got a bunch of people. All right.
Working. So how's everybody?
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Thank you for tuning in, folks.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So now at some point though, I know you you got some exposure to these people, but at some point you moved obviously to New York, and kind of your main an early conversation with you that influence was Tom Bizzio, Tuan Bill McGrath.
Yeah. So when I moved to New York, after I got out of the service, my main system was Paquiti Tertia then. So I, of course, from learning from my teachers, I started to say, okay, New York, there was the first generation students of Leo Gahe, of Grand Tuhan, and that was Bill McGrath and Tom Bizzio. So
Yeah.
I started training under Tuhan Bill, which I love because there's a different feel. One of the things that Omar had taught me to think about was, study the man and you'll understand his techniques. Tuhan Bill is a court officer. So his way
Mm.
of doing things really is based on that very technical. He was teaching us the 64 attacks and the dos and metodos from that point of view, which was different than what Omar taught us. And
Okay.
then I was able to make a connection with Tom Bizzio. But Tom no longer was teaching Pikiti Tertia. He was already doing Chinese medicine and he was doing Xingyi and Bagua. So when I gave him a call, I asked him, hey, I hear that you're teaching, but I'd love to learn Pikiti Tertia from you. And I'm Filipino, like that mattered. He goes, well, I really
Oh,
am not
incidentally,
teaching the art.
I'm
He goes, I'm
familiar.
not teaching that anymore. I stopped teaching that. I do Chinese martial arts and everything else, but I go, really, I'd really love to learn from you. And we made a deal. He goes, if I told him, listen, I'll be willing to come all the way to train with you because he was 6 hour drive. I live up in Rochester. He's in New Paltz. That's a long drive. But I think he didn't think I was serious. That's a crazy drive. So I drove. I
Wow.
trained him for 2 hours. Then I went back, and he goes, okay, I'll make you a deal. I'm going to teach you everything that's in this notebook from page 1 to the very last page. But later on, you can continue to teach it so that I can point people toward you to learn that. Okay, good. I didn't think he really believed I'd do it, but I did that for almost 2 years. I traveled all the way. I was single. It was my passion.
Yeah.
Passion requires discipline, and I did all that. I drive to 6 hours. I bring some of my students with me as my training partner to keep me awake, and I'd have a training partner to learn with them. But I drove all the way, and I did it and he was a man of his word too, till the very day he closed that notebook. He taught me everything that he learned from that system. What was so interesting about it, though, is that he taught it from his way of doing things, which was very much Chinese martial arts. And I learned to undo a lot of things that I learned from my other teachers because it fit me. It made sense. There was a lot of things that I'm like, you know what? I learned it that way and I'm learning it from his way. But he goes, the reason for this is body mechanics. He goes, there's so many things that are stylistic. He goes, no, let's look at it from a point of view of just the human body. So I changed a lot of the things that I used to do. It took me a long time because it just made me faster. He goes, do I need to pick up my leg to do this? Do I need to be off, all this? And he goes, or he goes, yeah, you just do this. And you go, bam, how much work was that? Oh, so it's really not about the look, it's about function. So a lot of the things that I did, I started to change because it was just easier for me. It made my body feel much better. And that's what I wanted. I also had a student who was a biomechanical engineer. So we would put everything that we learned to the test. And we found that there are a lot of things that I kind of like contradictory to what we're trying to do. At the same time, it could also damage your body. He goes, you're hitting tires a lot. Huh? He goes, what's the purpose of that? I go, well, it's supposed to bring, you get power, you strike and everything. It was like, you need power. There are other exercises you can do to get that kind of power. Okay, so what's the purpose of that? Don't you know that the reverberation is going to ruin your joints? Let me ask you, your teachers will make you do that. Are they doing it with you? How old are they? Like, well, actually, they count. Okay, then you get blisters in your hands. You get all these other things, so you're destroying your body. The longevity of your art is not going to be there. How long do you want to do this? When you're young, you can get away with it. What's the long-term effects? You want power? There are other ways to develop power without the addition of destroying your body. So there's Spartan training for the young. He goes, maybe this is the way the warriors did because they're not expected to live. But here is an art where you're supposed to do and expect to live. So here are better ways to save your body so that you can do it when you're old.
Okay.
Don't destroy it now with those kind of exercises.
Yeah.
It was a learning experience.
Wow. Wow. Oh, man, how unique. Wow. Wow. And like you said, he closed the notebook, so you got everything from him.
Well, yeah, from that particular art, and then
Yeah. I mean, from
after,
that, right?
and this is what it was. I was still going to see them when he closed the notebook. Because we're done. I'm like, I still
Oh
want to learn
no.
from you. He goes, well, okay. You know what? I'm reviving San Miguel Escrima from Momoy Cañete, so I would teach you that. I'm like, I'm in, and then I learned that art. I
So.
studied that system with him, which was so different, and it was even interesting because it was so different than Pequiti Tertia. Pequiti is a close quarter system. San Miguel Escrima is a long range system, but even further than that, it's an internal system
Mm,
closer to Chinese martial arts. The repetition of moves. I mean, one of the forms is 15 minutes long. A lot of repetition, but that's what develops that internal fascia, that heat, that key, or that development of the movements in there. And then he goes further than what attracted him to San Miguel Escrima was that at the time he was already learning Xingyi, and he fell in love with it, so that there was a language barrier with learning, Bisaya, and he was an American learning for that. So what he did was, as a genius, he went to his Xingyi instructor, Vince Black, and brought him to the Philippines with him, so that they would train this, and he would explain to him what they were doing based on the art that they were already doing, or what he's doing there in our terms is this, and wow,
how clever.
smart,
Yeah.
so the understanding was different, and I saw that even when I went to the Philippines on my own, and to pay respect to Grandmaster Momoy's family, because my own family in the Philippines were under Kakoy Cañete. My uncle was a direct student under him. So when I went there, as a matter of fact, Grandmaster Kakoy Cañete was once in charge of security for my own grandfather. Imagine all these things I missed as a kid. I could have learned from
Yeah.
that.
Right.
But
Had you.
when I went there and learned from and saw what they were doing, something it was different, because once again the understanding was different. They all learned from the Grandmaster Momoy, so did Tom, but the emphasis was really different. That's why I always say it's really when you learn a system from anybody, and they say this is the original and this is that. I go, no, this is original according to you, because no
Mm,
matter what you're gonna teach, you are gonna put what your temperament is, what you've learned, what the influences are,
yeah.
everything. So what you're regurgitating out there is still you.
Yeah.
It's not your teacher. That's why I always say learn from many teachers. In my own experience, I studied one system from 6 different instructors under the same
Mm,
grandmaster, and every one of them was different. It
yeah.
looked the same,
I
but
could.
very different.
I could definitely attest to that. Like in my KI journey, currently I'm like 4 different lenses, and in the beginning it was a little overwhelming, but now I'm actually seeing the payoff, the benefits, the further understanding, the different interpretations and all that. So yeah, I can definitely not 6 like in your case, but wow. Just want to see, Kuya, we're not missing any questions here, man. The comments are flying in. Oh my gosh! Wow. Whew. Wait, man. There's one time 40 people watching. My goodness. Told you. Yes, Julius. I never said he didn't learn from him. I said his main influences were the other two. Permanent client. All right, all right. Oh, okay, no good. Hey, well, good to see you. Hope everything's all well. All right. Okay. So with that, so that's kind of get you from the PTK lens. Any other FMA stops that, like other systems that intrigued you that
Oh yeah. Well, when I went to the Philippines to study with to meet Gran Tuhan, my classmates over there, Sixto Carlos, the Carlos brothers, were
Mm,
already students of Tony Diego and Tatang Ilustrisimo,
oh
and
yeah.
my brother was part of that group. So along with that, I got to learn from Baste Carlos, who some Kali Ilustrisimo. So that intrigued me. At
Mm,
the same time, it was also Edgar Solite who told me that his training partner, June Pueblos, was in the Philippines, who my brother met in sixth and everybody knew. So and
Pueblos
he was a
brothers.
student also of Grandmaster Gahe, the Grand Tuhan Gahe. But at the same time, Edgar Solita was his training partner. So they studied under Caballero. So I was fascinated to learn all these different facets. They're all connected from different masters. My brother, who did Kali's Street Sumo, shared with me his version of Filipino martial, as well as Yao Yan. He was very close to. He was a student under Grandmaster Nap of Yao Yan, and very close friends with Zapata, Emiliano Zapata. So it was a really amazing time because I was in that mode of learning. I had just gotten out of the Air Force. I spent months in the Philippines just trying to get a very, a whole taste of different arts, and it was different than learning the art just in the US. I didn't need to go to the Philippines to learn all that. I already was learning a lot from the teachers and good stuff from my teachers in the US. But my journey to the Philippines just put a flavor, it put a soul to my art. I think to be able to go back home, and having left the Philippines for 10 years before I went back, and the reason I came back was to learn the arts, was it put a soul into it. It put a flavor to it, to understand the people and what they're learning, and it made a difference. You see, at the time, my own friends back home were very secretive about sharing this. They were just like, we're not sharing it with everybody. I'm like, are you kidding me? Why are you not sharing this? Don't you realize that because you're not sharing it, I didn't learn it in the Philippines? I had to learn this from a different country. So you should be sharing it. And let me tell you one thing also. By you not sharing, you're sharing it only to foreigners who come to visit because they're foreigners. I'm not going to share it to my own countrymen. Those foreigners are going to go back to their countries. They're going to freely share it because it's a different mentality.
Sure.
I didn't understand it then. As a matter of fact, I had an issue with it. Years go later on when I finally realize it's a different culture. You don't share things within your culture because people will use it the wrong way. There's a responsibility that comes with it. You just don't share it to anybody because if they hurt other people, it's on you. And if you live in a very blade carrying society, sharing these things is a big issue because they can use it easily.
Right.
How well do you know these people to have that responsibility? In other countries, it's a different thing. The US is not a very bladed carrying society. Well, maybe it has changed, I know. But they're a gun carrying society. So sharing it here, it's also sharing, like it's a martial arts school, it's a hobby, it's a passion. Over there, it's serious things. Back home in the Philippines, took me a long time to figure that out. So now there are certain things I'm hesitant to say I'd like to freely share that if I don't know what's the responsibility that comes along with it. So it was an eye-opener for me.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, just everything that you mentioned there and recited in a somewhat chronological order. Wow. So your brother, wow. So now is your because I found out recently, some months back, that you had a brother and all that. Is he still lives over there, or is he?
Yeah, I have two brothers actually who studied the martial arts too. So RJ Marcaida, who came in on Fortune Fire as one of my arms when I had injured my arm. He performed over there. And Jason Marcaida is also my other brother who studied Yao Yan and also Doce Pares in the Philippines and some Pikiti with me. So
wow, fascinating.
It's fun.
So before we jump in, because I got just a ton of stuff here. Just quickly, what did you enjoy about KI? What resonated with you?
The simplicity of it, the directness of it. Watching the way Tatang would do it, because it is truly a bladed art rather than a stick art. Because Tatang would always do it with a sword. He'd move and his movements. Now, it was interesting that upon my own, now this is my own personal experience when I was watching it in Luneta and watching it. Tony Diego, pretty much to me, was the one who, I would see the way Mang Tony would teach it, and it's like a boxer's way, boxer stance, because that's what he was. He was a boxer, but his technicalities, and he would say, because when I watched Tatang, there was none of that Tony would do. They would do the drills, but he wouldn't explain it. Basically, he's just out there to go, let's just get it done. Bam, direct to the point. The directness of it. But you have to understand Tatang Nutrisimo was an end user. His
Mm,
history was that of a person who actually used it.
yeah, I know.
So there's a difference when you're using the art from experience, and there's a difference when you're using the art to develop the martial art.
Right.
Because there are all these intricacies of all the angles, all these other stuff, when in reality, bam, that's it. That's all that you really need. But if martial arts is all about bam, that's not martial arts anymore. That's
No,
just simply
I
killing.
know.
That's
And
simply fighting. Fighting, you don't need skill.
no,
You
no,
don't need skill
yeah.
to hurt anybody. You don't need skill to kill anyone. Don't
No.
believe me? Just go to the jail and check out all the criminals who've actually hurt someone with weapons and everything else. It's
Yeah.
because they didn't have martial arts that they didn't realize that they could hurt someone with a simple use of a thrust
Yeah.
and a weapon.
Right, right,
It
right.
is the martial art that stops you from the beast that's within you. The enemy is not the person out there. You can walk away from that. The enemy is your ego. That's the hardest thing to fight, especially when you know a martial art. You know you can hurt. So somebody challenges you. We're like, little do you know, I've been training all my life to do this. So let's go. But then when you also have this, little do you know that I've been training all my life, that I can actually tell myself, I've already spent my energy. There's nothing for me to prove.
Right, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't need to fight. The
Especially,
art stops you from yourself.
I agree. Yeah, that's well put. Yeah, especially today, man. You
Let me say this,
lose
and this
everything.
is one of the things that I think that I'd love to share. Okay, having trained with people who've crossed that line,
Mm,
especially the veterans, because that's when I was a military contractor. I've worked with some people who have to go downrange and have all that. Killing is just a matter of opportunity. When I trained with the Force Recon Marines and they asked me to go train their team, I talked to the commander and I go, sir, I humbly, I know your guys. I know
mm,
where they've been. As a matter of fact, to get to your unit, I know they've seen combat and they've done something at least. I'm just a martial artist. Why do you want me to teach you guys? And he said something very interesting. He goes, Doug, killing is just a matter of opportunity. But you have the gift to put your mind in places where no one's gone. You see, where the mind goes, the body will follow.
yeah.
How can you prove yesterday happened? You just have the memory of it.
Right.
So when you have the ability to put your mind in places, you develop possible answers. That's a skill.
Mhm.
So I invite you to teach my men because who knows, they may be able to do their jobs faster and with more skill. And that's all I want. And I'll guarantee you, if it's bullshit, they'll call you on it. And I
Ah,
was called on it too. I was called on it where I was showing something and the guy goes, no, I don't believe that. Show me. Okay, boom. And I did. Then they go, okay, very good.
okay, now
Trust me, when you're a military contractor, you bring something in there, just knife fighting anyway. You with the tier one guys, they will always call you on it because they want you to they want to prove that it works. And until you do so, you're not going to earn their respect. So you got to be there. And the
yeah,
thing is, it's a knife. How much proving do I need to do?
jeez. Wow, wow. So, all right, we're gonna get into now. At which point, I guess, did you formed your own system, Marcaida Kali? I guess what was the inspiration, and I guess what are some of the key elements of it for those who might not know?
Yeah. So Marcaida Kali came about because it was a form of commerce. What had happened? I was starting to do seminars all over the world, and some of the guys who invited me, because I would just say it's Kali, it's generic Kali. At the
Mm,
time, I had already left some systems and just did my own thing. I
mhm.
got tired of the politics.
Yeah,
It was no longer fun for me, so I wanted to do something different and still do my passion. And I want to get back on that point about passion of the martial
sure,
arts.
sure.
But what had happened was the host goes, well, we just can't call it Kali because nobody will show up. Because Doug's doing Kali. So what they started to do was call it Marcaida Kali. So they started putting it on there so that people would know there was something. Some places and in some schools really need the branding.
Mhm.
And who am I? They need to pay for my expenses and my fee to do that. So I understand it's their form of commerce and it's what they needed to do to be able to pay the bills. So I didn't question that. And eventually it stuck because everybody just kept on calling Marcaida Kali.
Okay, okay.
What I do is nothing more than my interpretation and my influences from all the arts that I've learned. And that's what it is. I pick what makes sense to me. I pick what I see my students can pick up. You see, when I'm looking at a martial art, I don't look at the instructor. The instructor could be just a natural fighter and a badass. The first thing I look at are the students, because that's who I'm going to be. And if the students move as well as the instructor, you got a good teacher right there. So I look at the students. Show me your students. Ew, okay. Show me the other students. And I look, and I look, and I go, okay, he's good. But 1 or 2 out of 20? That's not a good ratio. That means those guys are naturals too.
Yeah.
So I look at the students. And then I also look at the temperament. Are these guys assholes? Are these the kind of guys I want to take back to my family?
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm going to become. I learned the lesson. Birds of a feather flock together. You may go to them to want to learn you may go to them to want to learn the skills and everything else, but you're gonna pick up their temperament and their way of thinking, and now you're gonna get infected. Be very careful about that. It's a Cobra Kai thing, you know. So that's one of the things I learned. You know, when I'm looking at things like that, I really try my best to use the arts the way, well, you know, it's supposed to save your life, but it's supposed to save your soul.
Yeah, improve you.
A lot of people just think about, you know, that's why when I look at teachers who always want to influence, oh, we're badasses, let's go get a fight.
I know.
That's probably a teacher who's never fought before because he doesn't know the
Yeah,
consequences.
because they have to put out something that's not them, or they have to, you know, sell something.
Realize the consequences of what you're teaching. So when they want you to be a badass and a tough guy, who's going to answer? Who's going to pay the bills when you're hurt, or if you hurt someone, the legal bills, or when you're in jail? Who's going to put food on the table for the family of this person? Do they think about these things?
No, of course.
So it's very important that they really look at the big picture, what the martial arts are supposed to be. Once again, in my website, there's a motto that I go by. It's not about how many you hurt, it's about how many you protect.
Yes.
So that's really where you look at what I've got. I've got something that can definitely hurt people, but I use it for the right reasons. It's the same thing that's when you pick up a knife or a weapon, right? Doesn't matter what's in my hands, it's what I do with it.
Sure.
That matters.
Well said. Yeah, I know. I like that. Wow. Man. So I think you're referring to your catchphrase, Q. K-E-A-L.
So when I started Fortune Fire, you know, it was interesting because we didn't even know where we were going with the first season, but the tests were right there. When I did the pilot, we it was funny. We didn't even know how we going to test these weapons. So that's what they brought me in, and I go, well, in my background and what I've been doing already, when I was doing some contracting work and everything else, we stab carcasses. We take pigs and everything else. So I had to go, okay, let's go ahead and what is the test for this? Get me some meat and wrap it up on a meat man. We created a meat man, you know, just because we didn't have the carcasses then, and I cut it and everything. Wow, what a big difference you see and everything else. So let's call that the kill test. It will be the kill test. You have the sharpness test. If it's sharp, and you say it's sharp, it will cut. If it's strong, you know, it's you know, if it's the strength test, and then of course the kill test. So I started saying kill. You know, it will kill. It will kill. That's a pass. But there were times when I was just so excited what I would do. It'll kill. My accent came out. So kill, you know, people caught on to that.
Okay.
But what had happened was we didn't know who our audiences were going to be. When I started finding out that the audiences were also the young, it started to bother me. I'm like, I'm not going to glorify the violence of killing. It's already present there. Let's respect the weapon, but I can't keep saying kill. So one of the things we love about the Philippines is our play on words. We play a lot on words and acronyms. So following the saying that I do is that I looked at the idea of kill, keep everyone alive. So that's when I started kill. You know, it's the same way you say kill and my kill, and it feels a lot better saying that. It's more responsible. Keep everyone alive because that's what weapons are supposed to do. It's not about how many you hurt; it's about how many you protect.
You save, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, you had a younger audience, and you don't want them kill. You know, chanting out kill. So here's a question for someone, and their question is, you know, your approach to training and training structure.
What is my approach to training and training structure?
Yes, your approach to training and training structure is the question.
So my approach to training is there's a template that works in everything that you see. I try to follow the same template of people who spar the way they train. Because a lot of people say, train the way you fight and fight the way you train. Okay, great. So when they're doing their drills and they're doing the techniques, when it comes to sparring, it's all gone. I'm like, oh, it's a game of tag. Oh, where are the forms? Where's everything that they're doing? It's all gone. So let's look at the arts that spar the way they train. Boxing, kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu,
Absolutely.
right? And fencing. So those are the arts like, wow, when they spar, they're using the actual techniques. So if you look at all these arts, the template is set for you. Number one, conditioning. There's a part of conditioning that they have. Number two, they have forms. Shadow boxing is a way of form. When they teach you the proper way to jab, cross, hook, that's a form.
Sure.
Number three, they introduce a bag. So the arts that have there, the bags that's there, they start to hit an impact. They start hitting something with an impact on it. That's not hitting you yet. Why? Because if you start hitting something that's going to hit you, you get afraid.
Yeah.
You're not going to be offensive about it because you're defensive. So you're holding back. I'm afraid to get hit. That's why in boxing, you start off with punching the bag. After shadow boxing your form, you start punching the bag. And all this is part of proper mechanics. At the same time, you're getting conditioned. Then you do focus mitts, because now you're learning to be accurate with your movement in real time. Then you slowly introduce a feeder to throw you. Filipino martial arts, we have drills, and you have slowly somebody who's feeding stuff to you. And then you slowly do technical sparring, which leads to sparring. You see, technical sparring is so that to say, okay, for this, you can only hit with a jab. I get to do everything I want to do to you. You can only do the jab.
Yeah.
And later on, you can do a jab cross combination. I can only jab with a stick and cross or fluid strikes or circular strikes or witik and strike. That's all I'm allowed to do, because now you're using what you've learned in almost a real-time thing. Before you know it, you're sparring with skill. I love what my other teacher in Cali de Leon taught me. That's Guru Jun de Leon, Ama Guru Jun de Leon. He taught me, because like, spar to use your skill. Don't spar to try to win in the beginning.
Yeah. Okay.
And once you start to spar to do your skill, you will spar to win with skill. But don't spar and just survive, because then that's what we call bara, which is something I don't like. Bara is just go at it. Okay. Well, we know we can all go at it, but why am I even doing everything here? All the drills, all the forms and everything, if all I'm going to do is spar is just go at it and just survive. Just spar all the time then. Just spar all the time, because you learn that skill of sparring. You'll learn the skill of sparring to survive. But all this other stuff, you're not even using in there. So that's at least how I structure the way I learn my art, and at least how I try to teach it.
Oh, great advice. Great advice. I got another question. Okay. Favorite drill to do in FMA, and what drill do you feel is one of the most important for students?
Well, for students, solo or together with a training partner.
Good.
So
they didn't specify.
Okay, so favorite drill, I guess, a lot of drills that we have, I guess I would go with Zumbrada, because it is one common to a lot of Filipino martial arts systems. But it's a give and take. It's a timing drill. Now, in the Zumbrada, there's the box pattern, but there are so many variations. Because if you really think about what Zumbrada is really learning to do broken strikes on one side of the body and broken strikes on the other side. It never crosses. Watch. If I do a check, I feed, I strike, look at where the tip of my weapon is at all times. So it's on the one side of the body. Here. My tip stays here. Then later on, I start doing it on the other side of the body. As I'm feeling it here, it never crossed. So that's one way. But then you start to mix and match, because the timing is there. You can go different ways, but it's very centered on high to middle. Then you learn what at least in Peking is a thrusting drills that you add. So you try to learn the whole drill from every point of view, so that no matter what's fed to you, it's easy to answer. And it's structured. Why do I like structured drills? In the beginning, it's for safety. It's that I agree not to hurt you and you agree not to hurt me. Otherwise, nobody's coming back to class. So it's a way of mimicking combative moves without trying to hurt each other. Later on, you have to up the ante. Now let's do the same drill with headgear, and then let's not cooperate. Then that becomes like a technical sparring into sparring, but within the confines of this particular drill. I gotta make it happen in the speed, but it's controlled. Safety has to always be there.
Yeah.
Then later on, you break
fly.
away from that drill and you spar that way. We're saying, okay, this particular, the inside block and the witi or jab or the payong in the strike. That's all I'm allowed to do in sparring. Where did it come from? The Zumbrada drill.
Yeah.
This is where we pick our combinations from. It's from a drill. Because if you don't take it from the drill and put it into a different context, you will never use it. You will never understand its purpose. So you have to test everything that you know, but still come from a particular art where it can relax you. And let me say this. If it's all about killing, if it's all about the violence, you will come home like this. I just learned how to kill and beat and like this. And it's even from the people who've done this, and they're like this, and their adrenaline is here. What brings you back down? Martial arts. You see the drills, all this complicated, fancy, non-stop stuff. That's what calms you down.
Yeah.
All this tappy and all this, that's what brings you back to normalcy. Otherwise, you're just like this all the time.
Yeah,
that's not what you want.
You come home and you're just ready to go.
Yeah, and you're like this. I want to kill. That's why we have the drills. That's why we have the forms. That's why we have this carenza or sayaos or formas. It's to bring you down. Because we are doing something that was based on combat. Yet, there's no war to be fought. You're not a warrior that says that you're going to go, where's the war? You're walking around the streets with a sword? Why? You have sticks and everything? No. You are a warrior to protect your family at home and everything else. But come on, seriously, unless you're a soldier out in a war zone, there's no wars to be fought.
Yeah. I agreed on that. That whole warrior thing and the whole warrior mentality. Exactly. You're protecting your home and your loved ones. 100%.
And you are protecting your soul. We keep on forgetting that. Don't protect. That's why. Is what you're doing good for your soul? Because if you can answer that, no matter what that is, and say, is this good for me? Then more than likely, it starts from within. Then it goes outwardly. If it's good for me, then it should be good for my family that I'm protecting. If it's not good for me, it doesn't matter. Saying, I'm going to protect my family, but I'm a killer.
Yeah.
How am I going to protect my family? I want to murder everyone.
I know.
Or I've got a temperament where I'm so aggressive. I'm a hothead. I've got a temper. How am I going to face my family, my kids, and everything else when I'm beating the crap out of people? And I come back and I'm like, you be a good boy. Stop it. I'll let you know later on. Stop hitting people. Where you get your hitting from people? Stop hitting people.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Start from within.
Jeez. Okay, we're gonna jump in. This is going great so far, and the comments. My gosh, I don't even know what number we're up to yet. I lost count, but obviously, you took an interest obviously in Karambit, started training it. I think you obviously brought it to light, partially with obviously C. Trani, Tuan Ray Dianaldo, but I think you're part of the big three.
Well, Ray's the king of Karambit. I just happened to follow his lead.
but you still did. So what
well, I used to say I'm the Brad Pitt of the Karambit. I'm the armpit of Karambit, really. We were teasing around because I got to work with Ray, and I love his charisma.
Yeah.
When I first saw him and met him and watched him and go, we need more of that guy.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of guy we need. What did I call him? Mr. Hollywood. I used to refer to myself. Have you seen this, Mr. Hollywood? That guy's got pure charisma and so skilled. And he'd do pop, 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 pop. He'd smile. Yeah. I love that. I love that about Ray. And just as a teacher, he's one who's gone through, and we have the same roots, by the way. He studied under Grantuan Gahe too, then with Mother Ernest and everything else. So when I saw him work with the Karambit, I was like, I want to be just like that. And now I was introduced to Karambit from Omar Hakim, who first showed me about that art. But you see, here's a Filipino thing, right? Slippery pen. This twirling thing, we do that in high school all the time. We used to drive everybody nuts. So we're in class doing this all the time. And imagine the whole class is twirling. So it's a fidget thing. I've got this fidget thing. I've got ADD and OCD. But I like to fidget stuff. So my other fidget toy was the balisong. So I would play with that, and do that. And then, of course, coming to the US, and it was now illegal, I started doing it with my key ring, my
Mm.
key rings, with my keys, because they had a ring in it. And I would do that as in my mindset as a balisong, because I just flipping around. But later on, it started to remind me of something in my childhood. I used to play with broken scissors all the time. My first pair was broken scissors. Then later on, it was reintroduced to me as a karambit. Now, when I learned the karambit, it wasn't like the Filipino martial art karambit, meaning very rigid in the silat world. There was no twirling. Now, when I, one second. So when I had a karambit, when the first, as a matter of fact, the real karambit that I've learned was so small. It was a punch dagger, with a ring. But when I started learning it, and of course, when you start to go to modern world, everything is bigger. The karambits got bigger and bigger and bigger, so it had weight to them.
Yeah.
And these are not for folders. So what did I like to do? I like to flick, and the flail is because I can extend. I can now extend. There you go. Sorry.
Yeah.
I can extend my arm. Whereas this, I'm limited to this range. I got range here. I'm not doing this, folks. I'm not doing that. So when you see that it's from flailing to, it's like retractable claws. But why would I flail to begin with? It has weight. If it's so small and doesn't have weight, you don't even do it because you can't. There's no weight to it.
No weight.
But why would I even do that? Because this is Filipino martial arts to me. It's an extension of my hand, and I'm just doing it like I'm doing a stick or a knife, but it's an extension. The stick is an extension of your hand. So I started doing that flail, and of course I would retract my and start working on it. But it was basically my way of doing it like a Filipino practitioner, like a Kali practitioner would, not the traditional the traditional karambit from Southeast Asia, from Indonesia, Malaysia, and etc. It was different, and I just go, okay, I just like doing that, and I saw it more and more in other, and everybody starts doing it because if you can't have fun with your weapons, you're not gonna train with it. And to me, it was my fidget toy. Of course, if it's sharp, you got to start learning how to protect yourself because a lot of times, this is what happens. And what happened there is what happens, and you become one of that. I cut myself. Thing. Right. So you really have to know that as a responsibility of this, you'll get a trainer. But when you see the flick, and you bring it back, the blade is always away from your hand. You never return it in the center line to where it's going to meet your hand. Every kind of flick, it always goes, man, I'm having a hard time. Outside. The weapon is always outside of you. And you just don't twirl with it. Start with a trainer. If you happen to bump into your wrist and everything, you're doing something wrong. Always do something responsibly. That's why I'm a big advocate for always learning and training with trainers first that are very close to the weight of the real thing.
Yeah.
Training with rubber karambit, training with a wooden thing and everything is not the same as what you're going to carry that's got weight to it. Same thing as swords. Training with wooden swords, wooden sticks and everything else, saying it's a sword, it's not the same thing. The aluminum, not the same. Aluminum is very light. The minute you pick up the same thing, all these things that we thought we can cut properly with or we can move with, it's not the same when it's got weight to it.
No, true. All right. And then, as far as I got a question here regarding karambit. How does the method deployment, and actually you kind of touched upon, there's a difference between the, Indonesia, Malaysia, the smaller kind of claw versus what we're seeing today. But as far as what is the method deployment and the fighting change for like a classical karambit? For instance, let's say like an Emerson folder karambit.
Folders and fix are two different worlds. A folder has, of course, a hinge to it. I don't have a karambit folder here, but I happen to have. Sure. Same thing. This is my dart, right? Which happens to have the Emerson wave. There you go. So, to me, it's a comfort here. So obviously, because it's a folder, the deployment factor is very important. If it's fixed, you have to find a way to be able to deploy it immediately. I like an upside down carry, meaning if I had it already here, right? So
Okay.
the karambit's here. So when I'm deploying the karambit, I like it on an upside down carry. And under a shirt or whatever, I just simply pull down. And this is not exactly the one that I carry with me, but it's right there. It was just a gift given to me, right?
Okay.
So what I like is here because when I pull, it's there.
Gotcha.
As opposed to topside carry. That's like a business. What happens is you index when you're drawing your blade, you do this to
Mm,
draw it when it's off here. That to me is too much information what you're about to do.
okay.
I'd rather just draw it bloop, like that.
I see. Okay. Yeah,
I don't like to index and give information,
I got you. No, no, definitely. That was good. All right.
but that's just my preference.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. You kind of allude. Practice. Here's another question from the viewer. Practice internal arts.
I'm sorry.
Practice internal arts at all?
Do I practice internal arts? Kali is an internal art. Depends on what exercises you do with it. For me, it's all internal.
Fantastic.
So I can do the same things here, but then if I start to do the same motions, I can go Tai Chi speed. That's Tai Chi is very internal. So I can do my same things here, just watch my body when I'm working it here, just I'm doing with the weapon here. I'm my thrusting and watching how I align with the bottom, my breathing, doing the weapon stuff. It's the same thing. That to me is already internal. My breathing. So you find the same things. One of the things I love about looking at different arts is that basically we have one human body, so many variations of how to train it. So I will take the same motion. What is the difference when they say, okay, open up your meridians when you're doing this and doing the same thing and you're thrusting with the blade? It's the same thing. You just have to think about, okay, what am I trying to learn? I'm trying to learn every part of my body to move it. Am I trying to loosen up or open up my chakras? You know, some people think about all these things. I can do that with a stick too. I can do that with a blade. It's just a matter of being in tune. And what am I trying to do this morning? I try to move the arts because I'm getting older.
Right.
Kali has to grow old with me. So I'm using it now more for development and continuously trying to keep me mobile. It also calms me down. I've got ADD and OCD. I cannot sit and meditate. I can
Right.
do dynamic meditation. The minute I pick up a weapon, I'm there, and I feel one with it, and I'm lost. I can get lost within the motion of the weapon.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, that sounds internal to me. So, suggestions on endurance drills for impact and edge weapons. Well, we already know we're not going to the tire. So what?
Well, no. Let me not take that away. There is a purpose for it. You just have to be you have to understand what you're doing when you're hitting tires.
Yeah.
You know, a lot for WCAF guys, they do tire training, but look at their training. The stick is like super skinny.
Yeah, they're bouncing.
So the impact doesn't reverberate back to you.
Right there.
So endurance drills, I'll keep it simple. If you want to do something, do a lot of it. You'll get tired. That's your endurance.
There's
You know,
your-
a lot of times they'll say, okay, I'm going to run 6 miles. I'm going to do all that. It goes like for endurance and everything. I'll train Kali. How about you just train Kali and do lots of it faster and everything else? Kill two birds with one stone. You want to be fast. You want to get endurance. Do the strikes faster. Do more of it. You know, do the way you're going to fight with it. That will develop endurance. And not only that, it becomes functional endurance because you're going to be using fast twitch muscles of the hands that you're doing. I'm trying to build endurance. I'm going to run, but I'm not going to be kicking.
Right.
I'm going to be swinging. So run and swing your weapon. There you go.
Yeah. Right to the point answers. Love it. Got a question here. So this is a video I actually it's old, but I really enjoyed when you did the the gun draw versus the guy, the assailant coming flying out a knife, and you guys beat the
21-foot rule.
You guys beat it, man.
Yeah.
So what'd you think? Like, how did that come about? Like that
came about because at the time I was part of Funker Tactical.
Correct.
And one of the team members was Instructor Zero, amazing with a gun. And we had a chance to meet in Canada. Gun Noob, GN, set that up. And one of the things, it was really impromptu where we got to that and goes, hey, let's we're meeting at the school. Why don't we just do this 21-foot rule thing? And I go, that's a great idea because you see, one of the reasons the 21-foot rule came about was because of surviving edge weapons, which was the premier video taught in a lot of police academies. And
Correct.
in it was my own teacher, Grand Tuhon Leogahe. So was Guru Danny Nosanto. And they did this 21-foot rule. So I said, that's great. But when I watched that video, the people that they were attacking with a knife were people who weren't great with the gun. They were just regular guys with the gun. So their skills in pulling the gun wasn't great. So here's a guy that I know is an amazing guy with a gun. And with all due respect, I'm just going to go forward with a knife. I wasn't going to I was really there to learn from him. It wasn't about me trying to prove it works and it doesn't work. No way am I going to disrespect somebody I just met, you know? But I really wanted to see how someone who knew what to do with a gun would come up with. And he came up with some awesome shots. I mean, number one, you know, and not only did Instructor Zero say, okay, wait, it's easy if I see you come forward. Let's do it with my back turned on you. And that's even better. So he had a quick turn, shoot right there. And of course, as soon as I proved that I can make the distance faster, he says, okay, I can create distance with footwork, but I can also drop faster to the ground. But you would have to know how to do some ground rollings. And he did. He knew how to roll on the ground. So I can use gravity to create distance. And not only am I creating distance from the line of sight, I'm creating distance from the change of height.
Absolutely.
Not found before. So I'm like, there you go. There you go. You got an expert. Now we've got a better way of exploring possibilities with Instructor Zero. It was amazing.
I thought that's like one of the best. Like there's like really few that really resonate with me, and to me, that was one of them because it was just so well done. It made sense.
GM's a great filmographer, and we captured a lot of stuff. What was really cool about that, though, was my job was easy. I just came forward, just like spear. I didn't even draw my, you know.
No, you were definitely
just that thing, just to catch the distance and time, and then let's see what you come up with.
Yeah, no, it was well orchestrated on every level. Fox Knife. So you're let's I guess start motivation, inspiration, your collaborations.
So I've designed Fox Knife. I guess I'm doing a lot with them because I've grown to enjoy having blades made because it's quality, but still affordable. If I were to try to try to have any of those done over here in the U.S., it would be like 5 times what it's going to cost. So having with them, I already have about 10 or 12 knife designs with Fox Knives. So I'm working on designing more with them because it's become a family. I've become a family with them. I designed for K-bar knives and also with Russian blades and also with Max Venom, different designs. But Fox has become my home simply because, well, before, as a matter of fact, they're Italian. My wife's Italian. And when I talked to the owner, we said, a couple of times we've talked about, well, let's design more, or I've had options where I was courted by other companies to work with them, and I decided to stay with them. And he goes, I want to keep it family as best as I can. I've designed, I am a brand ambassador for 511 Tactical, so I have a knife out with them, and I wear all their shirts for Forge and Fire. Because that was something that was the story about 511 is kind of funny. When I started getting into military contracting and law enforcement, I had to go back to the Philippines to learn from my teacher who was already doing that. When I went over there, the big thing was 511 gear everywhere. Everybody had it. So I'm like, ooh, tactical. Let me buy some of this stuff. So I got with that. And only to find out that every one of them that I was buying over there was all counterfeit stuff. So, but when I was with Funker Tactical and I got to go to the SHOT Show and meet up with 511, I was a fanboy. I was a big fanboy already of 511 gear in the field of contracting. A lot of the gears were there. So to be able to get to the point to where I became a brand ambassador with them, it was a goal to do so that I could tell my fellow Filipinos, Filipino and Filipino martial artists, is that you have a Filipino who made it up there using Filipino martial arts to be with one of the biggest tactical companies that we are so enamored of in the Philippines. And I wanted to let them know that, hey, one of the brand ambassadors is a Filipino martial artist and a Filipino. So that was one of my goals for my country. Now, in a tactical world, would want to be with them. They're very well known, and to me, it's like an achievement to be able to do so. Like, hey, and it's Filipino martial arts that got me there.
Yeah.
Same thing as that. What got me into Fortune Fire was Filipino martial arts.
Let's show some pictures here. Here we got the dart, right? Yeah. That's
This one's coming out. The one with my tattoo, the tribal dart for the collector's series, coming out next month.
Wow. And here I got.
Oh, one of the things I love about the dart when we created this was that there was already a Fox Karambit that was out with the Emerson pattern. So I wanted to create something, that was same thing, because really what really I love about the Karambit is the ring, the retention about it. But I'm a straight blade kind of guy, straight blade. So I wanted something that I knew could puncture and slash. I could still control it, because really the control factor is about using angles of that, the Filipino martial arts that we do, and the Pakal Gray. But also something that didn't have to be limited to a curved blade, something that's functional as a straight blade that you could use. That's why it's a great EDC blade. But it also had the direct action by using, the clip over there. You can open up the blade, the direction. That's why I call it the dart, the direct action response, tanto. Because as a folder, I don't want to have to pull it out and take, just pam in one. The kinetic opening of the Emerson wave is what allowed it to be what it is, and I love it.
It's a beauty. I got a few more here to a show from. That was a dart, and then we got. What we got here? Let's see what we got here. No, that's the same thing. No. Bear with me here. Upload. There we go. Oh, this guy.
That is the new design with Bastinelli knives, which we call the Anomaly.
Okay.
So what it is, it's a reverse edge blade. That's like a Karambit handle, but it's got a reverse edge blade. So if you're doing reverse edge technology, where really, if you really think about the claws of nature, the edge isn't outward, it's inward. Okay. So as you're drawing the cut inward, that's what you're getting. The power of, we have more power pulling in than we do going out. And that's when, we decided to create this. And also, if you're using it in the thrusting or the forward grip, it also allows you for when you're cutting, when you're needling stuff, you're able to, or gutting up if you need to gut, like a sacatipas, which is the Mexican version. So there's that version of being able to use it for that particular use also, whether you're hunting, fishing, or whichever, wild game.
Yeah, beauty. And
it's slimline, it's small enough to carry around, not too cumbersome.
Seems very slimline. And we got another one. I can look at these things all day. And this should be the infamous, which was, I think, the first collaboration with Bastinelli, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's the third. That's a spade.
Third, okay.
So it's once again the idea of a straight blade, just like the ace of spades. And we wanted a little more robust kind of blade on the Karambit that you can do more work. We have the serrations in there for penetration also, and still also very slimline. The whole series of the 4 aces with Bastinelli, when we decided to do that, it was the very first one is the Le Picour, which is the broken scissors. We wanted something that was so slimline that it was easy to carry around, and be functional without imprinting on a lot of clothing, on what you're doing. Very light to carry and easy to conceal. So that was really the purpose of the 4 aces that we did. We started with Le Picour, which is like a scalpel. And then we went on to the My version, if you have it there, do you have the Pika? The Pika is my homage to the first Karambit that I saw, which is so small. So that's why I picked the Pika. So Lipikur was my broken scissors. The Pika was my, is my homage to the really slimline Karambit that you really see, the small ones that I was first introduced to. And then we did the spade and now the anomaly. And that completes the 4 aces with Bastinelli.
All right, I'm looking up, matter of fact, because you mentioned it, I'm looking it up right now as we speak. And let me see here. Bear with me. The Pika, you said, correct? Am I correct?
Pika.
Pika.
P-I-K, the Pika Karambit.
Okay. I'm seeing a few here. Let me see. That's got to be above. Let me see here, because it has all your Fox listed. It's got the classic. It's got the 2 classics. Not seeing the Pika though. Brother, I'm gonna have to. Well, now I'm gonna have to look that up after.
Just go to my website and you'll find it there. Oh, these are from my website.
But anyway, yeah. So beauties, though, absolute beauty. So what do you, okay? So
Bastinelli he's an artisan in designing knives. There's a way that he puts them together that's just so appealing, but not just in looks. He's really good at function. Okay. Everything that we put together has got to have the right function, not just looks.
David, folks, David just posted a link. Thank you, David. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm in limbo. No. Wow. Actually, so all right, future collaborations for Fox. What do you got coming down the pipeline?
I'm working on a 3-weapon deal with them, which it's going to be a Karambit that's coming out, my first true Karambit folder, because my Karambits have been straight blades. And then I'm going to be working on a straight blade folder and maybe bring back the War Eagle project, which is a tomahawk.
The tomahawk.
I call the Kali Hawk. So that's one of the things. So one of the things I really got into when I was working with a particular person, or he was one of the special forces guys. Goes, hey, we get assigned. We're given these tomahawks, and we got no training with it because it's in their logo. Have you ever had tomahawk training? I'm like, well, I picked it up and I go, okay, so it's got a shaft here that I would use like a stick or a knife. But it's got a curve right here that I can use because of the idea of a karambit. Yeah. It's got a spike there that I would spike doing it this way. And if I held it this way, it's a reverse grip of because I was doing some weird stuff with it. Stuff that normally you don't even do with a tomahawk. You can do this, you can do that, but no, I don't really work with with a tomahawk. Then he goes, well, you want what you don't know.
Yeah.
So I got to work with it, and the first one I found was with RMJ Tactical, who contacted me and goes, hey, you're using one of our trainers. Would you like to collaborate on that? And we made a Kali Hawk together. We had a first run of 150, and that's where we left it at. I never got back to it because I got busy with other stuff. But I'd like to revisit that because when I was doing what I call the War Eagle project, that was when I had a long hair and ponytail, and I was so into that particular field of my mindset was really on that and having so much fun with the tomahawks. But I made sure that when I was doing it, I called it the Kali way because I never wanted to disrespect the Native Americans and their way of doing their tomahawk. Yeah. That's why I call it the Kali way, just the way I did it.
Yeah.
And it was nice because I really got to meet some Seminoles who actually, came to my seminar and say, hey, no, it's just interesting what you're doing with that. He goes like, do you have any systems of doing this? And he goes, nah, we just fight with it. It was cool. But it was a learning experience to say, do you mind if, I hope you mind that, it's like, absolutely, man. It's like, it's interesting what other people come up with.
Yeah. It's actually, they actually have kind of a, I shouldn't say system, like I have a better, the Cherokee.
Yeah, I've been trying to find
Cherokee Hawk
that goes past modern days.
Yeah.
And this is where it's interesting because most fighting arts were never systematized. Most fighting arts out there with weapons never had a training system. They were just handed down, here you fight with
No,
it,
no.
period.
Yeah.
This theory of having something systematized is a modern day it's
No,
a
totally,
modern day
totally.
thing
Yeah,
with a lot of weapons that are out there. And
yeah.
that's okay, That means we're growing.
Yeah, yeah, right, right, right. Oh, yeah. But if you ever, the Cherokee hawk, the Cherokee has some really interesting hawk stuff I found in, but so all right, we're getting into it. The Forge of Fire. So how did you get involved with this? I mean, what happened?
They were looking for an end user, and they saw my videos on YouTube, so it was interesting. They go, hey, so I did a Skype meeting with them, and I seemed to be able to fit what they were looking for. We had already had the knife makers and all that, so they go, we're looking for an end user. So I was lucky enough to fall into that spot and do that. I'm not an expert on all the weapons, but I think as an end user, one of the things we forget about Forged in Fire is that these are weapons.
Mm.
They were made for one reason, and that's to kill. Kill. These are dangerous. Now, as a tester of the weapon, I represent the end user, but there's also a lot of things that I do on the show that are really there for safety reasons. You just don't go destroying stuff. Now, am I limited to what I do? Absolutely. You got to remember, we as judges, because it's you win a prize on. I mean, there's money involved. We as judges cannot go above and beyond to try to put our skills in. Number one, it's a test.
Right.
It's a test. It's not fighting. The media I'm cutting is not fighting back. So I cannot put martial arts skills in this. What I really do is try to mimic the weapons used by testing the edge and testing it as equally and possibly as I can. There is the human factor, but I really try to test it equally. Um, I cannot put all these other pieces that I want to, because then when you have momentum and your lack of control because you're trying to fight with something, it's not going
Mm.
to be even. Your cuts are not going to be as accurate or equal all the way through.
Sure.
So I can't use Filipino martial arts. I do with the motions that I do repetitively, the same basics I can do right there, then I can keep that equal. But far more important is that I can try my best to be safe with it, that I'm not going to injure other people. We take into consideration the people around us, and of course, myself.
Okay.
And that's really what I bring into that. You have to bring someone who's constantly been doing with it. Respect for the weapon. We
Respect.
have a lot of fun, but let's not forget what these weapons are made for.
Yeah, 100%. Wow. So then, um, so what are some of the memorable? Like I've caught some of the show. I think I mean, some of the things, the axes, the throwing. I mean, the one thing was I think the tusk, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
We had
Uh,
to try to figure out how we're going to bring an elephant in there, right? So we couldn't do that. So we just had to mimic the force that it would
yeah,
generate to be
that
able to
was
test that.
freaking. So
But just the fact that they were created in history. Did you know that the elephants were weaponized?
oh my
So that's one of
gosh.
the things I love about what we're able to do. Now, here's one thing I want to bring up also to
Yeah.
my fellow Filipino martial artists over there. I really learned a lot that stick training is not weapons. It's not blade training.
Oh, we talked about this in the test run. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's not the same because I was finding out a lot about myself and my skills when I was doing this. For example, in the first season, there was a difference. I learned what is a chop versus a slice, the follow
Mhm.
through. With sticks, we don't slice with sticks. We hit with sticks when we're training. So we're doing a lot of impact. You don't do that with a blade. So
Right.
there is a difference in how we're cutting with that. And at the same time, if you're training with a wooden sword, an aluminum sword, and everything else, it's a wooden sword, aluminum sword. It's not the real thing. Your cuts are not going to be as powerful.
Yeah.
Now, all the redondas we're doing, try to do a redonda with a sword. It's not the same. It's not going to have the same impact as you're doing with an impact weapon.
Mm.
Impact. That's why I'm introduced as an edge impact specialist. I wanted to make sure that people knew that there is a difference between edge weapons and impact weapons and what you're going to fight with them. I'm not saying that a chop or a jab with a sword or a blade is not going to be effective.
Yeah.
It's just different when you're cutting.
Gotcha.
It's just going to have a different end result. And the way you move with a stick is not going to be the same way it's going to be moving with a sword, especially one of the things that people don't realize is that when I'm testing with weapons, there's a certain thing that they want us to do. I mean, try to cut through the whole media, try to decapitate. In combat, you're not going to try to do that. That takes too much effort. For what? You're not fighting a building. So
Yeah.
all these small cuts are not necessarily not correct. It's like a jab. You set up the jab for the cross, for the power shots.
Right.
That's fighting. When we're doing our test on the show, it's to see how well we can cut through stuff and everything else. You're not trying to decapitate everything in combat. You don't do that. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from different kind of weapons. I've learned the differences also of the different kinds of strikes that you're going to be doing. I'm not an expert on everything, but I am there to make sure it's safe. That's the difference. And one of the things people don't understand, I never get to pick up the weapon till I test it. That's a big issue. Guns, when you first get it, you get to sight it in. Myself in my training, before I train with a bladed weapon, I familiarize myself with a weapon so I can be safe with it. In this show, I can't do that. It's a competition. The first time I pick it up is the first time I get to test it. And what they don't understand, what they're saying, well, you don't understand. Weight is an issue.
Yeah.
To wield something is an issue. To be able to even zone in and have the feel of where the edge is, to where the weapon is part of you, is an issue. There are a lot of times, at least with my own weapons, I know exactly where it is. I can feel its extension of my hand. Weapons you've never picked up before, and the weight variances and everything, the handle and the construction and everything else, it's hard to be able to accomplish a lot of the shots without being able to familiarize yourself and zero in like you can your gun or your own knife and everything else. So it's one of the things that, it's like you said, it's different. But we do have our cameras and a team that we call the challenge team that makes sure everything is tested and there is no judge error. If we do a judge error, trust me, we resolve that. It's very fair. We check everything with cameras and everything else because there's rules to this. There are legalities that are involved here.
Yeah. Like you said, though, I mean, right. If you're not familiar with it's not like you're just going to go up there and make it sing. I mean, you know what I mean?
So,
wow. So what were some of the, just off the top of your head, before, I mean, I got a couple of questions regarding the show. I mean, you're coming up, you're in your 8th season. What were some of the memorable moments? I mean, I'm guessing the tusk, the elephant, that had to be.
No, there's an episode that's coming up that's going to be the memorable moment. So I can't say about that, but it's one of. Well, okay, I'll say this: the Filipino Igorot headhunter's axe became my favorite weapon.
Okay.
But there's one that's coming up that's really my favorite weapon. It's coming up probably in a month.
Okay.
But that Igorot axe really surprised me at the kind of damage that it would do. And no wonder we have that in the Philippines as a headhunter's axe. I mean, it does more damage than a regular axe. It does more damage than the Eastern European war hammers or war axes that I've wielded. So now I understand. I used to look at it and I'm like, look at that skinny little handle and that head.
Yeah.
What is that all about? But one thing, I always grew up with those statues of the Igorot carrying a thing with those headhunters' axes, and I never understood it until I wielded one, and boy, did it surprise me. Boy, did it surprise me in terms of the kind of damage that it does. It's just the ergonomics and the design of it. They knew,
right?
and they are, users of it, so they knew what they were doing.
So when you say the ergonomic and all that, I mean, like, just weight heavy forward, they were just able
weight forward, the pick that they have, the design of how that's going to cut. The edge is much like a sword in a sense. If you think of the tanto, if you think of the Igorot axe, has that point right there where it's the way it's designed. If you were to cut this in half and put a pick on that, I mean, very interesting.
Fascinating. Because like I would have, I mean, again, without having one, testing, I would have thought the same as you. Oh, like I'm seeing the skinny handle, seeing the top, you know what I mean? I would say, like, wow, interesting.
But these are axes for one purpose, combat. So they're not made to be chopping wood.
No,
they're not made for hard work and everything else. They were weapons.
Yeah. Wow, that's, man. Ooh, when you just think about that, yeah, that's bad news. Wow. Why do you think the show's been like good? We talked about a little. Two-part
the
question. Why do you
success
think
of
it's
the
good for
show.
the community, and why do you
Yeah,
think it's good
well,
for
okay.
households?
When it first came out, we didn't know what our demographics are. We didn't know who's going to be watching the show. But when it started to become a family show, I think that's a secret to why we're able to do over 8 seasons, over 200 episodes, because we're creating memories.
Mm,
It makes me feel old, but when I started to hear from our fans who write me and say, "Hey, I used to watch your show with my dad. I
yeah.
watched that with my grandfather. When I watch your show, I remember it being with my family and everything. It's a family show, and to be able to know that this is creating memories to me is an honor. That when
Mm,
I'm dead and gone, or when we're past, and they watch reruns of this, they
yeah.
can watch it like I watch reruns of old,
Yeah. Yeah.
70s,
Exactly.
80s movies, and say I used to watch this when I was a kid with my family. And
Exactly.
I think that to me is amazing to be part of something like that. And
Mm,
that's why uh, we really try to keep down on violence of it, but really, try to, I guess, really focus on what it's about. And what it's really about is not so much the weapons, but the bladesmiths who are telling their stories. Because working with your hands again is universal. I'm right now, I am talking to you from Mexico.
yeah.
I am filming Desafío sobre Fuego on its fourth season, which is the Latin American version of Forge and Fire. Bladesmithing is international. It's in all our histories.
Mm,
But we find common things. The passion's the same, the discipline's the same. The methods and processes might be very different, but it's the same thing. So they love it in Latin America just as much as we love it in the West.
yeah. Wow. Wow. That's great. So, I mean, as far as the plan, I mean, you guys are just gonna keep going
I
until,
hope so. Till I can't swing a weapon anymore.
yeah, until you're out there like, ah.
Yeah, you swing it for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Wow.
everything else, everything comes to an end, and I'm sure there'll be a time when somebody else will have to pick up my spot and swing the weapons for me. But
Yeah,
till
but for right
then,
now
I'm
though,
enjoying what I'm doing. I can't
you're
complain.
you're in it, you're enjoying all that. Here's a question I
What
got.
I love about it too is that I get to actually be called in as a Kali martial artist, and this for my fellow Filipino martial artists over here is that it brings, I guess, a vision. It brings recognition to the art that we do.
Yeah.
I ask that, they introduce me as a Kali martial artist so that others who are not familiar with the art that I do will now Google it. They'll
Mm,
Google Kali. They'll find this page over here. So I tell people, well, I don't have an instructor where I live in. Well, now you do. Here's a forum with
yeah.
practitioners from all over the world, and now they can just come in here and goes, I want to learn. I live in so and so city. Is there an instructor here? And maybe somebody will pick it up, or that somebody can share with them that, hey, I'm training over here also. Why don't we meet up, or let's form our own group and find a teacher somewhere who can correct us or who can fine tune what we're doing.
Sure,
And
sure.
that's what I want to do. As a matter of fact, in the process while I was here, I've been training the judges, my fellow judges, and the host.
Oh, okay.
And it's gotten to a point to where, okay, I think it's time to do a Kali movie. And
Colleague.
there's so many out there. There's so
Yeah,
many Kali movies out there where Kali is being used.
absolutely.
But I'm a story guy. I'm not an action guy.
Yeah.
If the story is not good, I've seen so many great action flicks where Filipino martial arts is being used, but the
Mm,
story is just lackluster or the acting's pretty bad.
yeah. People are just
So
watching
they
for
go
the
straight to
action. Yeah,
DVD
yeah,
or their B movies or whatever.
yeah.
But if you have one with a great story, and I think I've come up with a couple where, well, let's add some forge, let's add whatever. So one of the things that I wanted to come to Latin America is, number one, they're very supportive of what I do,
Mm,
but meeting with the people in here, making the connections to where we can take it to the next level is exciting. And let's just say that um, there are things being developed that let's hope it goes our way to
mm.
at least showcase our beloved art.
Absolutely. I mean, right. I think it's time for getting the attention and the recognition it
Raya doesn't
deserves.
count because that's cartoons. No, but Trece, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah. Here's a question I got. Is there a blade? So this person's question is there a blade that best expresses stick fighting? If so, what is it? If so, I thought about this and I was thinking, the wrong? I don't know. What'd you come up with? What do you think? I don't know.
Ginunting.
Canoeting. All right, let's
The
hear it.
barong, the barong is too wide
The leaf,
at,
the belly.
at the
Yeah,
leaf, right?
yeah, yeah.
Stick fighting has to mimic a small, skinny
Yeah,
blade, and the
you're right. You're
Ginunting's
right.
mimic that.
You're right. So
So that
canoeting.
was the
Okay.
closest I've been able to come to that mimics stick fighting because of the shape and the weight,
Gotcha.
and not so much curvatures that where they get wider and wider. So
So the
that's
canoeting. Okay.
mm,
And
that's probably one of the reason why the Force Recon adapted it. Why Grand Tuhan preferred it is because
that
it's
makes
very
sense.
close to the
Yeah,
stick
yeah,
that we
yeah.
train with.
Okay. That makes sense. What his second part, what is personally your favorite sword?
My favorite sword,
Yeah,
so
canoeting.
many. It's like saying, what's your favorite
I
knife? It's
know, I
like
know.
underwear, right? Do you change your underwear every day? I hope so. What am I wearing today? What are my favorite socks? So it's really what I feel like wearing. I'm a man with multiple personalities. Yes, I do. I have many voices. So whatever each personality is dominant that day, they get to pick out the weapons that I'm going to be carrying.
Okay.
And let's be honest. What's your favorite flavor? What's your favorite Filipino
Oh,
dish?
I
What's your
know.
favorite dish to begin with?
It was his
And
favorite.
pick one. And it's okay. Enjoy every one of them.
Yeah, yeah. Pick them up and play with them all. Absolutely. Um, Next, canoeting or Taliban? Your favorite? Are the two? Sorry, add the two.
Uh, you know,
Canoeting. All right.
I'll tell you why. When I was training with the Force Recon, we did a joint military interoperability with we had the U.S. Marines and the Filipino Marines training together, and then the Force Recon U.S. and the Filipino. At the time, they had introduced the Filipinos had a Ginunting dagger. That was what was issued to us. We also had what I brought to K-Bar back, which is actually the K-Bar big brother, Kuya, with K-Bar, was a design of a big U.S. military issue marine knife. And and it's just a bigger version of it. I love that knife, the K-Bar, because it was the Marines. It was my workhorse that was destroying and training with and everything. It was one of the workhorses that I used also in Fortune Fire, going through corridors and everything else. And I looked at the Ginun thing that we had, and I was just not impressed with it. It's so light, and it's
Mhm.
not, this stuff. Until I went out into the boonies, and I had both blades with me, and I started cutting with it. I was shocked at how the Ginunting dagger cut better than the heavier knife because it's all about the physics of it. This is my cortada. It is my homage to the Ginunting, if you look
Oh,
at it, like a half a scissor. What I did was I made it because the Ginunting is rounder here.
okay.
But I took the same science of the blade to where, as you see, the angle of the cut. So if I took a piece of paper and if I just went straight down in a straight line, the
Hmm.
physics of it is that if I went down in a straight line, the edge would just cut. It would just cut. It's made for cutting. See how if I went straight? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The idea was there is if I just go straight down, it's hard to demonstrate here. All the edge would almost cut my hand. Then the edge would naturally just scissor it. It would cut
Yeah.
and cut. So as I'm cutting with it, as it met whatever I was cutting, the angle and curvature of the blade just sliced it
Gotcha. Okay.
without effort.
Right. Yeah.
So the only thing that I wanted to do with that then was put a more acute edge so that it can also thrust and penetrate.
The
A
thrust of
double edge to
oh.
support the spine, but also penetrate with that.
Mm.
So that's why I love the idea of the ginunting and what it does. I just wanted a little more acute tip so that it can also thrust.
Okay.
Doesn't mean to say that the other blades aren't beautiful in their own right. I love barongs. I
Yeah.
love the weight of the barong, and I like to use it also. It's one of my other favorite blades, but it is wider. It's
Yeah.
bigger. It's a different. And now, is a ginunting good for cutting trees? Or the ginunting short sword and everything? Well, if it's skull skinny, no, it's not
Hmm.
made for that. It's a weapon.
Correct. Correct.
So I came up with a cortada that I call it for cutting that's wider. So to meet both worlds, this is the dagger version. What I showed you.
Yeah.
I
We.
have the camp knife version that's wider. so that I can also use it to chop stuff down, not just cut small things. It's all about ergonomics, or in the sense of the physics of how things cut.
Sure. Okay. So as you know, something we kind of talked about, in the test run, which I thought was just really inspiring, something you mentioned, and how you really rely on your instructors, but more so than that is that you actually embrace students who are looking, you encourage them, to like seek out your instructors, not just you. And I thought that was like really refreshing to hear. I think that's something, that I wish more instructors would do, advocate, make.
Oh, I see. Yeah. One of the things that, because I no longer get to do, I used to do a lot of seminars, and I get all these requests for online training and stuff like that. For Marcaida Kali right now, I'm not able to do that anymore, because if I do so, then nobody will seek out the students underneath me who are instructors. They will always live in my shadow. They are qualified to teach everything that I do. But until I stop teaching, and until I stop doing the things, nobody will ever seek them. It's just the way things are. So if they want to get to me, they have to go through them. And that's so that they will also get recognized for what they do.
I think that's fantastic.
In the end, folks, you want to learn Marcaida Kali from me, it's a different way that you're going to learn from everybody else, because we all have our different interpretations. I'm telling you, you want to learn a martial art, don't go by the name, go by the person who's teaching it, because it's going to be different. The system is nothing more than a guide. Just because you took that art doesn't mean it's going to be the same. You're going to high school, just because everybody who graduates from that particular high school doesn't have the same level of knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody who goes to a particular college doesn't have the same level of knowledge. It's all individual.
Excellent.
So seek out individuals and see if you want to learn from them. If they have something that you can't do, then maybe you want to learn from them. And that's the way I look at things.
Refreshing.
Seek the individuals.
Yeah. I think that's just great, though, that you're encouraging them to seek out your instructors. There's not a lot to do that. I don't know. I think it's really...
because I'm able to say that because this is not my living. I understand when people make martial arts their living.
Yeah.
That's why organizations survive, because they require the money from that. Now, this is my passion. When my passion started to become an issue because of politics, when it became an issue where everybody was backbiting each other for ranks that you can buy, or you pay dues and everything else, I'm like, this is miserable now. This is my passion. I'm supposed to. Everybody's talking about backbiting each other and which system is better, and nobody's training anymore. Everybody's arguing. Who's training? Then I go, you know what? I'm going to leave. And also the same reason why I encourage, okay, here's the highest level of Marcaida Kali, okay? Your final test is to create your own system and to name it your name. You're not allowed to use Marcaida Kali anymore. Why? Marcaida Kali is for me. It was a guide. When you graduate from high school, do you call your name, your high school name, or your college name?
No, right.
You are you.
Yeah.
So the highest level of Marcaida Kali is to create your own system, because you're the one who put the time in. You're the one who took the interpretations and make it your own, not me. You will never be me. You can try to be me, and I'll give you as best I can. I will give you the best way you can be the best version of yourself.
Exactly. What you should
I'm
do.
different. I'm taller, I'm shorter, and whatever. It's going to be different.
Yeah.
So that is the way I want to look at it, because this is your passion. And the same thing about carrying names. I was never put on this earth to put a name of my passion, which is carrying somebody else's name. No, this is my hobby, my passion. I don't want the past. I will honor where I came from.
Sure, yeah.
I will honor
Yeah.
But don't force me to say that what I'm doing and what I'm carrying has to be Marcaida Kali. So my students are not allowed to say, in the end, when they want to be their own, you have to be your own, because you're the one who put the time in, not your teacher. Not your, we were nothing more than guides giving you ideas.
Yeah.
But the journey is yours.
Wow.
You're the only one who walks it.
It's incredibly refreshing. I'm telling you, though, I'm just being honest, not many sharing what you just said.
I understand that, and it's okay, because
no, it is what it is. I mean,
these are my truths. That's why I keep telling people, I'm gonna do this. And no. Remember this: my truths are my truths. Your truths are your truths.
Yeah.
You may try to copy my truths or try to make other A lot of people go, well, I learned this and everything else. I'm like, no, remember, that's your teacher who did that, not you.
Yeah.
Those things that they accomplished were them, not you. Just like saying, well, Masayama was a legendary guy with very unique skills unto himself. That's Masayama.
Yeah.
You can copy him and try to take his training methods and everything else, but nobody's going to be Masayama who can punch a bull and knock him out.
Yeah,
It's the same thing as certain skills that I saw my teacher do. I'm like, yes, he can get away with it. I can't.
Yeah.
So there's something wrong with me trying to copy that. I can't do that because I don't have his body mechanics. I don't have all these gifts that he has.
No.
So I gotta be me.
I know some a lot of people and that are younger, they get caught up in that. Like they think like by trying to move like the teacher and all that is the way to go. When in reality, it's like freaking
You have to
figuring who you
understand
are.
why it was created. You know, there was a silat system called, I think it was Madi, where this guy had I think something wrong with his hand, or he was born that way, or I don't know if it was an accident. But his motions were so limited that he had to fight that way, and he was very good at it. Now here comes a fully able-bodied person trying to mimic something that was not supposed to be that way. Do it this way. I remember another thing in my own system, doing a movement that was very specific, picking up the leg. And here's a 6'5" guy trying to do the same thing that a 5'4" teacher was trying to teach him. So the teacher would say, okay, you're doing it wrong, so pick up your foot this way and doing that way. That was for him.
Yeah,
but he passed it on to his students, and now it looks ridiculous. But he didn't understand, what are we trying to accomplish here? Oh, you're trying to accomplish this strike. Can I do it this way? Boom, you just did. So you don't need to copy my body mechanics.
Right.
Because the corrections that we make for certain people are for them. It's not for everybody, because we're all built differently.
Yeah,
you got to understand the motions, not just copy it. And too many times we copy things. We don't understand it. I know how to do this, but I don't understand.
Yeah, I've been guilty. Yeah, I think we all at one time or another. I mean,
The more you do it, the more you start to realize. And that's where you have to first learn the drill. Don't ask questions. Just learn it from the teacher. Then in your mastery of the drill, do you start to learn and understand it, and then you are allowed to question it. Because sometimes while we're learning, we want to question everything. And the teacher goes, if you master this, I will answer all your questions. It will answer all your questions.
There you go.
Then you're allowed to question it.
Yeah. That's wow. So we got another question here. Will we see any future collaborations with Tuhan, Jared, or any other well-known teachers?
Tuhan Jared is currently. I'm sorry, I just gotta put this on here. Tuhan Jared is doing a lot of PTKs. We did a trio, and I'm doing my other stuff here with stuff like that. So it's very hard. Like, once again, it's going back to the seminar idea, right? I can't say yes or no to that, simply because right now I want my instructors. When I say instructors, these are the guys underneath me to be doing what I'm doing. They're the ones. If Tuan Jared wants to collaborate and wants to collaborate with them, that's awesome. But if I start doing collaborations and stuff with other instructors and everything else, once again, my students who are instructors will never get out of my shadow. But there are certain people who are my brothers by soul, like Fred Mastro, different story. That guy is one of my brothers that I'm very close to. Certain people that I'm very close to past just being friends, that I could collaborate on, simply because there's a connection there that's deeper than just friendship.
Gotcha.
And that's the only ones that I would say, okay, I'm going to do something with these people because I have a connection with them that's deeper past friendship.
Got it. Okay. Coming to the end, it has been absolutely wonderful. What would you like to see change in our community for the better, FMA community?
FMA community, I think, one of the most famous desserts in the Filipino culture is halo-halo, mix. I would love Filipinos to be more inclusive about what they do than exclusive. I want you to take away that mentality that what you know is the best or is enough.
Mm.
It is in exploring other things and not being afraid to explore. Understand this. We are individuals. As individuals, we need to learn and experience everything that's out there. Being inclusive keeps you inside this, and you're not, I think I'm in the best group and everything else. You're not going to grow. I
Yeah.
would love for Philippines, because you know why? If you have that mentality that I just want to learn everything I can from everybody, you're not going to be insecure anymore. A lot of times we're very insecure about what we do, so we say we're the best. We're this. It's pretty much a lot of times insecurity. Now, if you just open your mind up and say, yes, I don't know that.
Mm.
Yes, I suck at that. Yes, this is something better. And if you start from down here and everything is up there, you have nothing but to gain. But
Yeah.
when you are so inclusive and I'm not want to do that, and I know I'm better at that than everything else. Well, you're just enclosing yourself.
Yeah.
And also another thing, as long as we keep on keeping ourselves inclusive, we will always fight among each other. We will always think we're better than each other, and there is no such thing
Infighting.
as unity in this particular. And that's all martial arts, I think. But if you want to be able to get away from the backbiting and you want to be unified, then just don't care about what you're learning in a sense. Want to learn from everybody. How can I convince this guy when he wants to learn from everybody else? If you're one of them, then let's go. Let's learn this. Let's learn that. Let's learn this. Because in the end, isn't this your own passion? Don't you just want to enrich yourself in everything that you
Yeah,
do?
yeah.
And when you have that open mind like that, of learning from everybody and acknowledging that we don't know everything, and acknowledging that there are some things that I'm very weak at, then you just open yourself up to possibilities. But the minute you think you got it all and you're the only one who's got the answers to everything else, you just close your mind to every possibility.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like I've heard that a couple past teachers. Well, there's, I don't know what else I don't know what I'm gonna learn from him. And I'm just like, okay. I just see like one of the things that created, well, this talk show and FMA discussion group was, obviously an attempt to bring unity, more exposure, FMA and all that, but it can be tough, man.
It is, because it's inbred. Here's what it is. The minute you see your teacher talk bad about other systems and about how good they are, that's the way you pass on the poison to your students.
I know.
It's learned.
It's so
It just
true.
like racism. It is a learned habit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So much well said. Absolutely. Like I had a teacher and no longer with them, but yeah, and like you said, just that talking, and it filters down, especially if they're young and it didn't have much exposure in other systems and all that. And if they're new and all that, and they don't have any compare and contrast, and here you are blasting away, they're going to take that in and this is great. This is what we do.
It's a human thing, though. It's a human thing. It is up to us to acknowledge it, see it, and be better than it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to say that I am not guilty. I've said the same thing. I've said the same thing when I was learning and doing that. We're better than that. Oh, we're much better. We have all that. I've done the same thing, but I learned that from my teachers and I passed it on to my students. And that only then did I realize now, oh, wow, what am I doing? I created my own, I'm creating my own versions of me from my teachers. So then you have to start changing. I mean, that's the thing about everything that we do, right? We learn from our mistakes. And that's the first step. Acknowledge that it's not right.
Yeah, right.
Learn
You got it. Just acknowledge
try
it.
to be better than it.
Just
We're all human. There's nothing wrong with, yes, as long as I blah 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 blah. Okay, maybe not. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Right. No, exactly. But like you said, as long as it's just not continuing like this assembly line. Now the students are doing, their students are doing, and
catch yourself and stop or change.
Yeah. So what? We got a question came out at the bottom. Here we go. Yeah, David. Any chance we will ever see a Marcaida Kali DVD series?
No DVDs, but I got my videos on my website, my tutorials. They're out there.
Okay.
So the whole, I've got my first set out there, which are the basics, the foundations, and the way I have it is sign up, watch it, train it, do it on your own. And if you need coaching, you can contact my instructors that are on the instructor page to coach you. They'll do it online. And that's the way it's set up for now.
Awesome. And future goals. I mean, for yourself and organization and anything else. What are your goals?
Um, Future goals right now is hopefully working on Fortune Fire continues to do so. It allows me to do other things. Desafío sobre Fuego. I'm hoping that eventually we'll have a Fortune Fire Asia, as well as a Fortune Fire in Europe.
Oh wow.
But in this opportunity that's happening with Latin America, I would really hope to see a Kali movie made or a TV series. We'll
I
see.
hope you make it happen. That would be wonderful with a good storyline. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Not so much based on the
never know.
act and knives flying and heads coming off. A good, good storyline. Sure. Wow. And social media. How can folks? Obviously, your website,
Well, I do a lot of my stuff on Instagram and
Instagram.
Facebook and TikTok. Believe it or
I
not,
need
I'm
a
on
TikTok.
TikTok.
See, I'm
It's
so
so much
new
fun.
to this.
It's my release. It's my release. What I do is I video my training sessions so that I can send videos to my guys, my
Okay.
students, and everything else. And when I'm done, I just edit it and have fun with it. One of the things that the greatest training tool you guys should know is that you need to record yourself training. And
Mhm.
we all have that capability with our phones now. And the reason for that, it's one
Yeah.
thing to do something and feed it. It's another thing to actually see yourself do it. When you record yourself, you start to realize, oh, I thought I was on balance, but I look off balance there,
Yeah.
or I thought I was doing it. Record yourself, and it will really push your level up in training. That's why training in front of mirrors is great. You
No, I
know,
totally
to
agree.
record
Yeah,
yourself is
you can
also
actually
just as great.
see your gaps, your deficits.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
I really just started doing that. I have to be honest, in the last couple of years. I wish I did it sooner. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, today is always the good day today
Yeah,
to
yeah,
start.
yeah, yeah. Never
Great day to
right.
start.
Better late than never. So TikTok, Instagram, obviously Facebook, your website. So plenty of ways to get a hold of you and, well, in particular, your student teachers there, actually.
Yep.
Um, so what Instagram? Just what the handle on Instagram?
Doug Marcaida.
Easy.
Just like go by my name, Doug Marcaida. Same thing in TikTok, Doug Marcaida. I mean, you'll once you get there, you'll find all my videos. They're
Yeah.
silliest, funniest videos. I think they're funny. I love to make people laugh. I've got this weird sense of humor, goofy sense of humor. It's a Filipino way of making people laugh and smile, and I love to do that. And I like being silly. I'll poke fun at myself the most because it's what makes me laugh, and I like it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate you. I hope we didn't take too much of your time. We're
Yep.
on.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. This was a pleasure,
Oh
and
my gosh, I am so appreciative you agreed to come on. Especially you're down in Mexico. You're working and you made time for
yep.
all of us, and I really appreciate it.
Yep.
So,
Back to the old good old USA tomorrow. Oh, 2 days. We're finishing up
yes.
over here, and it's been an amazing experience here. But back to the forge shortly.
I'm sure the family will be happy.
Oh yeah, can't wait. Can't
Yeah,
wait to go home.
wow.
Oh my gosh, Mole's here. Unbelievable. There you go,
He just
guys. One
jumped
of the
in. He's
legends
coming
right
on.
there.
We're actually getting him on. I believe. I think August actually for him. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So yeah, I'm
You got
looking
it.
forward to hearing
Like for those who've tuned in who have not been part of this community, you have a community here with lots of legendary and great luminaries of the particular arts of Filipino martial arts, silat, and everything else. So
Yeah.
that is definitely something that you're always asking, where do I go if I don't have instructors or whatever? They're right here, folks. This is a great source to be able to find an instructor, training partner, someone to train with or whatever. Start your own group. You have a source right here. Just post a question, join this forum, post a question. I'm sure somehow, some way, somebody around your area will be able to give you an answer.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But
All right.
I appreciate
Well,
it. I want to thank you so much. You take safe travels. I hope the rest of the time down there goes well and all that. And
all right, my
yeah,
pleasure, guys. Thanks for
thank
tuning
you so
in,
much.
and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right, absolutely. You take care.
All right, ciao.
All right. Well, that was wow. That was great. 60 likes. Wow. I think that's a record. And I think at one time we had plus 40 people watching, something like that. Yeah, just amazing. Who is next? That's kind of, I think Tom Pena's got somebody coming up Sunday on the 4th. There could be somebody tomorrow. I am kind of working on that. If not, definitely somebody early next week. I mean, we're going to be kicking off July's list and full bore. Matter of fact, I'm looking at it right now, and we got some good people coming up. The 10th, we got Citadel. That's some Nahima and all that. They're going to talk about what they do. The 14th, we got Darren Friesen and Tom Sodas together. On the 12th, who else I got here? Just starting to fill this in. On the 7th, Tom Pena is Anton, the European English rep over there for Dose Paris. Anton St. James. The 24th, Ryan Cordero and Sachi, both from New Jersey. That's going to be a nice one, too. And there's definitely going to be others. I just have to fill them in, so all that. But at any rate, if you haven't already, please, join FMA discussion on YouTube. Remember, the more as far as subscribers we got and the more views, the more money we make to give to charity. Remember, all the money that we make from this channel is going to charity. We are not keeping it. So you're just helping us give more money to charity and all that. So please keep that in mind. All right. I will see everybody shortly. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.